What's going on, everybody? My name is Jake, and welcome to the UFC Vegas 113 recap. As far we're going to be going over what happened in the fights, my personal reactions to them, as well as how we did on the betting landscape. And fortunately, made out in the green for UFC Vegas 113. I'll give my exact, updated total ROI for the year so far up there, as well as the UFC Vegas 113 individual results. Made out pretty good on the betting landscape, but I'm not going to lie, the card as itself for my sportsbook accounts could have been so much more. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I typically, when it comes to the stakes that I play in MMA, fights that I'm not super confident on, I'll go a lot lower stakes. So something I could clarify a little bit better in when I do the betting breakdowns for what I'm personally betting is like how much I'm putting on a specific prop, because there were some fights like Julius Walker fight, for example. I had a bunch of different bets listed, but I was not putting a lot of money on those because I was banking on a young guy in the UFC who's had, this was his third UFC fight, who was an underdog going up against a UFC vet who has a proven track record of finishing fights. So I'll do more kind of breaking down exactly what like the total amount I'm betting on each fight is, or whether that's giving a number or giving units or whatever it is. Because yeah, there's gonna be certain fights where I have more bets on, but the amount of money I'm playing on it isn't the same. Whereas another fight, like I said, Wang Kong or Wong Tong, as I heard it was pronounced on the broadcast, that was one of my more confident picks. And so I was going to have more money, whether it was her money line as a parlay piece or whatever it may be. I'm going to have more on that. Same with another fight that I was super confident in was Kyoji Horiguchi. Using him as a parlay piece with that KO, TKO, or decision, because then with that value, all you have to do is add one other leg that you're confident in, and yeah, I put more money on that. So, because as I get into the breakdown how we did on the betting landscape, there's a couple fights that, the bonus bets didn't work out. They're so close to, or like I said, Julius Walker, for example, I had more bets listed when we gave those out, but I wasn't putting a ton of money on those. So in the future, going down the line, I'll kind of specify more which fights I'm putting actual like bigger wagers on, and which fights that, yeah, I might have bets on it, but they're a lot lower stakes, if that makes sense. But anyway, so like I said, we'll have the total ROI up in the corner, like in the last one, and then the individual breakdown of UFC 113, Vegas 113. So anyway, let's go through the cards, starting from bottom to top again. Kind of give a short recap and how we did on the bets we placed. So starting off, Priscilla Cachoeira versus Claudia Segula. Man, taking this as a life lesson to never bet on 37-year-old, already not very good female MMA fighter, but one that's now 37, going up against a 27-year-old female fighter. Boy, you could just tell the speed difference in this fight. I mean, Segula was just so much faster with the hands. I'm not mad at the plays, though. Obviously, Cachoeira money line, she pretty clearly lost that fight. I'm shocked we didn't find a finish in this one. Like, they were both tagging each other pretty good. Like, Zombie Girl has her, nickname because she's taken damage before and she survives, but that had kind of faded from her in recent times. I mean, she got fucking sparked by Jocelyn Edwards in the first round. I think it's probably Segula just doesn't carry a lot of power in the hands, but they were punching each other. I mean, Cachoeira had some pretty good shots too. Like, I remember in the first round, she landed one pretty good. And so I'm thinking, hey, Cachoeira's clearly outmatched on the, speed terms of things. I thought Segula might try to go to the ground, but I don't blame her for not, because she recognized she was piecing up Cachoeira. So I thought we'd find a finish. It is what it is. Again, with these low-level women's MMA fights, I'm not putting a whole lot of money on those. So the wagers are going to be a lot smaller. So we missed the two bets that I put out, as well as the bonus bet of Cachoeira by KO TKO in rounds 1 or 2. It's another thing I want to go over with the record, it's a little bit misleading for UFC Vegas because I noticed this when I was checking our results after the card, it doesn't count the bonus bets as losses, because what I do on here is I mark it as a free bet. And so if those don't lose, or if those lose, it doesn't count as a loss. As suppose if you had an actual cash wager on it, it would count as a loss. So I think in actuality, we went like maybe 2 above 500, but the record that shows is going to be like we went way above 500 as far as the record of the picks go. So just kind of wanted to clear that up in case you're confused. But yeah, so we had the two, real wagers on this one with the Cachoeira money line and not to go the distance. We had the bonus bet. None of those hit. So, I mean, it is what it is. Not really mad at the plays, though. At least it was an entertaining fight. They were scrapping, at least. Next fight, Moin Gafarov versus Jakub Wicklacz. I had Gafarov to win after the first round, and, you could kind of give that either way, the first round. Third round, he was definitely winning up until he got submitted. Second round, he got dominated, by Gafarov money line. That obviously didn't hit, but I got my ass saved. He tapped out with 1 second left. I've never really seen anything like that, because he tapped out with the left hand before the bell, and then after he started tapping with the right, and then he started celebrating like he won the fight. It was strange. It was a strange little sequence there at the end. And then he had Wicklacz was telling him, like, you tapped out, which he did. And then they went to the referee review. I think that's the first time I've ever seen a ref review in a UFC fight, like, actually go and determine the outcome like that. But they said on the scorecards after the fight was done that Wicklacz would have won by unanimous decision, because I think they had given him rounds 1 and 2. And then Gafarov was winning that third. I don't know why he shot a fucking takedown. Like, that's the guy you're fighting. That is his best path to victory, and you shot a takedown, and then he got submitted. But shout out to Wicklacz, because it cashed our bet. Otherwise, I would have went 0 for 2 on this fight as well. So Gafarov moneyline missed. Again, not mad at the bet, because he had some really good moments on the feet. He was beating up Wicklacz, but he just ill-advised takedown. I don't know what you're doing, man. What are you doing? And then he taps out with 1 second left. Pretty stupid, but whatever. Wicklacz, man, he could be... I don't think he's ever going to be like top-tier UFC level, but he could be a fun fighter that just has a bunch of submissions or maybe gets knocked out himself. Like, I feel like he's going to be in entertaining fights in the UFC, so we'll see where his career goes. Next fight, our girl Wong Tong. I want to, pronounce it correctly. Man, this fight... it worked out for us, right? Because she was one of my bigger cash cows, so to speak, on this card. I was very confident in her. And it looked that way on the feet. I mean, she absolutely pieced up Eduardo Mora. I don't know how the fuck she did not get that finish. In the first round, she knocked her down. But in the third round, the second round, Eduardo Mora just wet blanketed her. I think she had a sub attempt, but I don't think it was really like that threatening. But yeah, in that third round, Kong is just piecing her up, has her knocked down, and then she's going for a submission at the end. I was like looking at my TV like, what are you doing? Just stand. Listen, I'm not a fighter, so I know it's probably a lot more complicated than what I'm going to make it sound like, but I was like, stand up and just strike. Like, Mora was busted up. Her nose was just pouring blood. It was a wicked fight. I really thought we were going to cash one of those bonus bets with the KO TKO props. Again, that's why I use these bonus bets on stuff that have wide odds but are legitimate ways I could see the fight ending up. That was so close to getting the TKO in the third round, which would have paid huge. Fortunately, it didn't play out that way, and that's why I kind of said this card, for me, even though it was profitable and successful, it could have been so much more. I'm not going to complain of profits, don't get me wrong, but like, you have to see where I'm coming from on that, where it was so close to hitting a wide odds bet like that, and we came up just shy. When she was trying to get those submissions, I was like, what the fuck are you doing? But anyway, I had her KO TKO decision and a couple parlays that I had some higher stakes on with some other plays I was really confident in. So at the end of the day, she made us a lot more money than not. But, oh man, we're so close to getting that knockout prop in the third round. But either way, like I said, it kind of played out exactly as I expected. Mora was going to have success in the wrestling if she got there. but she was going to be tired out from it. And when this fight was on the feet, you know, Wang Kong just pieced her up and almost finished her. So it is what it is. Successful fight for our pocketbooks, but could have been a lot better. Next fight, Javid Bashrat, man. This dude, he was playing with fire in this fight. And maybe it's just, it could be two things. Maybe Javid Bashrat is just not nearly as great as his brother, who we'll get to his fight in a little bit. Or maybe Gianni Vasquez is just cut out for the UFC. I mean, he went in there, he almost got finished in the first round. And I was really praying he didn't because I wanted Javid Bashrat by sub or decision. So thankfully Vasquez survived. And then he himself had Javid Bashrat rocked. And I bet Bashrat was getting flashbacks to that Ricky Simone fight. Like, oh my God, I'm getting fucking beat up again. But they both survive in their respective rounds. And then I think Bashrat pretty clearly won that third. So, yeah, maybe it's a combination of Bashrat not being that great, at least in the UFC, or maybe Gianni Vasquez is legit. Also, at the same token, like, I know Bashrat's like this huge favorite, but when you're taking an opponent on 2 days' notice and you've been in a fight camp and you've been preparing for one style of fighter the entire, however long your fight camp is, a month or so, and then all of a sudden 2 days' notice you have to take on this completely other fighter who's not known at all, at least probably not in your camp, is from this other, regional promotion. I get how, like, it's probably not as easy as what the odds makers seem to be, but still. Credit to both of these guys. Bashrat survived, Gianni Vasquez survived, and Vasquez, I mean, hey, I hope they give him some fights that he can go out and win because he clearly showed he's good enough to be at this level. So even in a loss, good for him, but yeah, I didn't have a ton on that. I had the sub or decision parlay piece with, I had that with his brother's money line, and then I had that with Kyoji Horiguchi, KO, TKO, or decision. And that was pretty much all I played on that. And then I had a bunch, like I said, when I was giving my original breakdown for this card, I had a bunch of money out there that was all chalk because I had Said Nurmagomedov spread. And so it was attached to a bunch of parlay pieces. And thankfully, all of those other pieces hit. I'm talking Wong Tong money line, Farid Bashrat money line, Mikhail Olegzaychuk, KO, TKO, or decision, Horiguchi, KO, TKO, or decision, and Ketlin Souza spread, John Matsumoto spread. So I had a bunch of open legs on the parlays, and they fortunately all hit for me. Otherwise, I'd be so pissed. Because again, unless you're betting something straight up, and it voids outright, it keeps that other leg of the parlay open. And usually in MMA, I do no more than 3 legs. I love a good 2-leg parlay. So I had a bunch of 1-leg parlays that were open, and the other leg was Said Nurmagomedov spread that was voided. So I was like, dude, if these fights go bad, like I'm getting no value for these returns, even if they hit, and if they miss, it's just double fucked. But thankfully they all hit. So anyway, good showing from Gianni Vasquez. I hope they give him some more opportunity. And Javid Bashrat, he gets back in the win column. Next fight, Ketlin Souza and Bruna Brazil. This was a strange fight. The first 2 women's fights were bangers. This one was fucking strange. It worked out for us because we had Ketlin Souza, however you pronounce it, on the money line. Plus her spread was a big parlay piece for me. I was so confused watching this fight. Why she was going in the clinch so much. She was having way more success striking. In the early part of the fight, Brazil was catching her with those knees up the middle to the body. And that probably bothered Souza a lot to why she was clinching. Probably just to catch her breath and, recover a little bit. But, dude, in the second and third round specifically, she had Brazil hurt. I remember at first, like, based off her reaction, because she was, like, pawing at her right eye, it made it seem like it was an eye poke. And they showed a replay for it. And it was a clean strike. And it just, like, hurt Brazil's eye. And she was clearly, like, messing with it. And I thought for sure Ketlin Souza was going to go in for the kill. We had that KO TKO round 2 bonus bet out there and just her to win by knockout. I was like, all right, here we go. And then she just kept clinching up. I was like, what are you doing? And then in the third round, same thing. She had Bruna Brazil hurt. I don't know if it was just maybe her body was really that injured from those knees, or maybe her cardio just in general isn't great. But I thought she could have finished this fight. At the end of the day, like I said, I favored Souza in this fight because of the smaller cage. I thought she'd be able to track down Bruna Brasil a lot better and make it a scrap. It wasn't really a scrap, but she did track down Bruna Brasil well and kept the fight close as far as the range of where they were fighting. And she just landed the much bigger shots. And it was another, I think this was a split decision, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been unanimous, but I know it was 29-28 either way. Like I said, if this fight was going to go to decision, it was going to be 29-28 one way or another. That's why I liked the Souza spread, alt spread as a parlay piece. And yeah, she ended up winning outright. Thought if she just went after it a little bit more on the feet instead of clinching every fucking 5 seconds and then Herb Dean having to break them up, she probably could have found a finish. But either way, she won. And so yeah, cashed pretty good there. Next fight, this was low-key a moneymaker for me, and I was not expecting it because as it got closer to fight time, I was like, I kept saying in my original breakdown, like why I was pretty confident in Veretennikov to win this fight because he had been in camp to fight in this, and he's also just so much fresher in the game, not as far as age goes, but as far as damage and just fight, mileage taken, so to speak. And I just think Nico Price is kind of in it for the checks at this point, and he's never really been that great, in my opinion. And Veretennikov knocks him out standing in the first round. And I had Veretennikov on a couple parlays. Again, I didn't recommend it when I gave my breakdown, but as it got closer to fight time, I kind of talked myself into it. So I had him with Farid Basharat. I had him with Horiguchi. I had him with Wong Tong. I had him with Mario Batista. Or no, not Mario Batista. Daniil Donchenko. Yeah. By knockout or decision. Yeah. Yeah, so he was low-key a moneymaker, Veretennikov, for me. So credit to him. I think Nico Price should probably hang him up, in my opinion. And Veretennikov, I mean, he's 36, so he's not young, but he hasn't taken a lot of damage. Like that was only his 21st professional fight at 36 years old. And then you see guys like Kyoji Horiguchi, that was his 41st professional fight at 35 years old. So that's what I kind of meant when I said he was a little bit fresher in the game. But yeah, props to him. Next fight, Daniil Donchenko and Alex Morono. I don't know how the fuck Alex Morono survived that first round. Props to him. And then he spit the blood at Donchenko. And it looked like Donchenko just blew his load and all of his cardio was sapped after that first round. You could just tell. I mean, he came out so fast in the first round, kicking the shit out of Morono's leg, landing big shots, had him nearly out of there. Morono survives. Like, I didn't check this before the fight, but I would have loved to see the odds on Donchenko by decision there. I mean, it was a clear win, but, the kid obviously has to work on his gas tank. Not really much to break down there. It was pretty one-sided. But props to Morono for surviving. Definitely cost. I mean, we had the under 1.5 rounds. And then I had KO TKO parlay piece in like 1 or 2 bets. But I mostly had KO TKO or decision was like minus 400. So use that in a couple. But yeah, this fight didn't play out the way I think anyone would have seen it. Yeah, kid just needs to work on his gas tank, but he gets the win pretty convincingly. And yeah, we move on. Julius Walker, man. I told you this was going to be a fight that either aged like milk or aged like fine wine. And after the first round, it looked like it was aging like fine wine. He controlled Dustin Jacoby in the wrestling. And I remember I checked the live odds on FanDuel after the first round, and he was actually favored. He went from plus 164 at the start of the fight, or 154, whatever it was. And after the first round, he was up to like minus 148. So I was like, all right, we're cooking here. We got the decision bonus bet. We got a sub. We got him on spread. And then Jacoby just starts to piece him up. Like I said, that's why I played that alternate double chance, Dustin Jacoby KO, TKO, or Julius Walker by decision. That was my biggest wager on this fight because I knew that was a clear path to victory for both guys, in my opinion. And so, as happy as I was to see Julius Walker win that first round, and I was feeling good, when it went downhill, at least in my mind, I was like, all right, well, at least I made a good bet out of this. And I'm not mad at it because, again, the first round he looked great. He was doing everything he needed to do to control and ride out this fight to hopefully a decision. And then he just started getting rocked. Maybe I was giving him too much credit for dominating Rafael Sikora. Maybe I was giving him too much credit for being the much younger fighter. Props to Justin Jacoby. He wants to fight on the White House card. He's got 3 straight knockouts. So I think they should give him that. Be one of the prelim fights. My cat is fucking with something over there. But yeah, I think this aged, what's like the middle ground between it. I don't think it aged quite as badly as Milk, because Julius Walker did win the first round, but then he did get knocked out. So I don't know. We also didn't hit the over 2.5 rounders, so I was disappointed because I thought Julius Walker was just gonna be able to tough it out. But I mean, when you get hit that much and that clean, I get it. So it is what it is. We still ended up making a little bit of money out of it just because of that alt double chance. But yeah, probably won't be taking guys who are in their third UFC fights over guys who have fought in the UFC for like a decade, so in the future. But yeah, we'll move on. Fareed Basharat versus John Matsumoto. This was a really freaking good fight. Hold on, I need to get up. What in the hell? This little bastard was just fucking up a cardboard box over there and making so much noise. Gosh dang. Anyways, next fight, John Matsumoto, Fareed Basharat. This was an awesome fight, really high level, great matchmaking. I'm a little bit surprised it went to a split decision because I think Basharat clearly won rounds 1 and 2, or not 1 and 2, 1 and 3. I know Matsumoto, I mean, this dude can just recover. He can take a punch to give a punch, and he's going to keep walking forward. Credit to him. He's a legitimate prospect. But I just don't think Basharat was ever really at threatened to be finished here. I know Matsumoto was landing, but I think Basharat landed the much more damaging shots and had the wrestling control time. I mean, Matsumoto landed like 7 takedowns in this fight, which I think the commentary even said, like, that was not the route they expected the fight to go. It was going to be the other way around. Basharat taking him down over and over, but it was Matsumoto going to the wrestling, and he showed he can do it at a high level. We pretty much hit everything we needed. This was one of our best fights as far as prediction goes. I mean, Basharat by decision was a pretty big play for me. I had this fight to go the distance as a parlay piece with a couple others. And then the Matsumoto spread. So, yeah, I mean, it pretty much went perfect when it went to split decision. And I heard them say Fareed Basharat. I was so happy because I think, yeah, that really started to, not that I was having a bad card, but it was just kind of meh to that point. That really started a winning streak here. But, yeah, this was a really great high-level fight. These are both legitimate prospects. I think you give Matsumoto a fight that, you know, he'd be favored in to win, get a win under his belt, and then give him a top 15 shot. I'd imagine they're going to give Fareed Basharat a top 15 shot after this. But Matsumoto showed he's right at that level too. This was an awesome fight to watch. But I think they got it right. Not only because of my betting bias here, but also just I think Basharat did the much more damaging shots and had the wrestling control time when he needed it. So, but it was a great fight. Next one, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk and Marc-Andre Barriault. Man, credit to Marc-Andre Barriault's toughness, dude. That guy, he had a really good game plan. He had his right hand like glued to his head to protect from the big left hand of Oleksiejczuk. And the first round, I think Oleksiejczuk won pretty outright. The second round, I'd give it to Barriault because he did exactly what he wanted to do. Got in the clinch, made it dirty, elbows, uppercuts in the clinch, and he had Oleksiejczuk hurt a little bit. And I was really worried that he was going to lose outright. I thought Barriault's chin was kind of gone at this point. I know he survived against Shara Bullet, but I still just thought this guy is not going to be able to withstand a left hand from Oleksiejczuk. And he did over and over again. That dude is tough. He made it dirty. He made it a lot closer than I think anyone would have suspected. I mean, who would have thought the two most bet on fights or most chalk fights to go end by knockout to not go to the distance on the entire card were ones that went the distance? I'm talking about this fight and then Daniil Donchenko and Alex Morono. It was pretty close, but yeah, I think pretty clear 29-28. I think Oleksiejczuk just went out there. He probably knew it was 1-1. I know they had the corner cam and like had some of the dialogue in there, but I don't know if his corner was saying it was 1-1. I think he pretty clearly won that third round. So yeah, 29-28 across the board. He gets the win, but I think he'll use that as a learning lesson from here. I mean, he's kind of a one-trick pony. There's not much wrestling at all in his game, and I feel like if he wants to continue to rise and get, you know, better and better opponents, he's got to establish something, some sort of threat to the wrestling, because MAB just was not threatened at all. I mean, he was shooting takedowns, I think, in the second or third round, but Barrio was just not threatened at all with the grappling the entire fight for the most part, and that's why he was able to just be defensive on the feet and try to get in the clinch and make it dirty. So, yeah, Oleksiejczuk definitely has to, you know, train the wrestling and jiu-jitsu a lot more if he wants to continue to rise. But, you know, 3 fights in a row now for him. I'm interested to see who he gets next. Maybe he gets a top 15, but again, after that performance, I think he probably needs to fight another one before he gets that shot, but we'll see. I think the fact that he's in the Fighting Nerds and fans generally seem to like him, he'll probably get a top 15 shot next, but we'll see. Next fight, man. Is this the worst ranked heavyweight? I mean, I know heavyweight's not very good, especially in today's UFC. Jailton Almeida. What the fuck does this guy do? How is this guy ever... It just seems like he's completely lost all of his confidence in fighting. At no point did he ever threaten Rizvan Kuniev with anything in that fight. And it was like, as soon as the early takedowns were stuffed, he just was like, all right, I lose. He just accepted it. And thank God we played that over, because, yeah, over 1.5 rounds, that hit easily. I told myself not to bet on Almeida, and I ended up doing it. Yeah, it would have been way smart for me to take a dog shot here on Kuniev. But I don't know. I just thought, like, after that last decision loss to Volkov, he was going to come out here with a fire under his ass and look to prove why he was a top 6 heavyweight in the world. Allegedly top 6 heavyweight. Clearly not. Yeah, it just seems like he has the yips right now for MMA. You know how in baseball you have the yips, you can't even like throw a strike, or if you're playing catch, you can't even hit your throwing partner. He seems like he has the yips in UFC. Like, he's got no confidence. He doesn't have a game plan. His striking didn't look bad in that second and third round. I don't know. But yeah, Kuniev, I mean, he got robbed his first fight. He gets the decision nod here. He's going to be in the top 10 in the heavyweight division, which is like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I mean, good for him, I guess. Not really much to say about that fight. That fight sucked. But this next fight did not suck. Kyoji Horiguchi, man. This dude is legit. He was so fun to watch. He is so fast on the feet. And he was just piecing up Amir Albazi. I mean, it went pretty much exactly how I thought it would, and then I think a lot of the general public thought it would, where as long as he could defend the Albazi takedowns, because that was going to be his best method to victory, was to try to get this fight on the mat. He tried, and Kyoji just stuffed them perfectly, and even when he did get Horiguchi on the ground, he just kind of got back up, because they were like on the cage, and he'd be down, then he would just kind of stand up and defend, and yeah, just pieced up Albazi on the feet. I don't think he was ever really a threat to be finished, but yeah, I mean, you saw the fight when they were standing with the ref afterwards. Albazi was all busted up, and Kyoji Horiguchi, the only blood he had on him was from Albazi, and his sweat was mixing in on it. Like, this dude's fucking legit. He called for a title shot after. I think the UFC will probably make him fight they might have him fight Tatsuro Taira. Little Japan on Japan action there. It all kind of depends on when Pantoja's coming back, but I think he's going to have to fight one more time and get another win before he gets a title shot. But he certainly is making a real case for it. I mean, he dismantled Tagir Ulanbekov. He dominated Amir Albazi here. I think if he were to go in and fight and beat either Manel Kopp or Tatsuro Taira, I mean, again, it all kind of depends when Pantoja comes back from injury, but he's right there on the short list to flyweight title shot. He looked awesome. His post-fight interview was funny, and yeah, he was fun to watch. And again, he pretty much cashed on all fronts where we needed him to. He was one of my more confident plays. So yeah, really, really good performance from Kyoji Horiguchi. And then the main event, I'm so glad to sticking with my guns here on Mario Bautista. I did at the end of the card because I had Bautista, because I had him as a parlay piece when he opened at minus 205. And then when his money line started to come down, I started placing, the sub or decision, double chance, or just straight up on the money line at minus 148. But when the odds first came out, I had him as a parlay piece. So I had him on a couple open bets. So I did place a small wager on Vinicius Oliveira just to kind of hedge, just in case, because he obviously has the finishing threat. And boy, Mario Bautista showed levels to this game, man. And Oliveira just had nothing for him. Nothing for him. He wasn't threatening him on the feet really at all. And when the grappling got going, he absolutely dominated him. Beautiful transition to get that rear naked choke at the end. And Oliveira tapped quickly. I had Bautista by sub or decision at minus 130 on this. I had Bautista by sub or Oliveira by KO TKO at minus 110. I had that under 4.5 rounds with that cashed easily. The over 3.5. That was kind of just a hedgy bet sort of way, just kind of guaranteeing myself something there. And I was trying to find the middle. I was hoping if Bautista would get that sub in rounds 4 or 5, like I predicted, he would find it early in round 4 when Oliveira would be completely gassed. Found it a lot earlier than that, but man, he looked really good. I love the call out of Corey Sandhagen after. I think it makes a ton of sense. And yeah, Mario Bautista might be, I'd say probably 2 wins away from getting a title shot at bantamweight. Yeah, he looked great. So yeah, overall, like I said, for the card, we made out pretty good. I'll do a little bit more kind of specifying for future breakdowns of, what bets I'm putting more on and what bets I'm kind of treading lightly on. That way it kind of lines up a little bit more with the record. Like, again, I'm posting the ROI and everything just to, A, be transparent with anyone watching this and to be honest and hold myself accountable. But when I give my bet breakdowns, I'll be like, hey, this is one I'm placing like half a unit on. I don't even really use set units when I bet, but this is something I'm only putting $5 on, for example. But then if it's something I'm really confident about, hey, I'm putting $50 on this. That way, it kind of lines up a little bit better with the breakdowns, if that makes sense. But yeah, we made out pretty good. 3 straight winning cards to start 2026. I'm knocking on wood there. But yeah, so I'll probably put this out on Monday or Tuesday. And there is no UFC next week. It's an off week. And then after that is Strickland versus Fluffy Hernandez in Houston on February 21st. So, yeah, that'll do it for this. I hope you guys enjoyed. I want to keep putting these out. Obviously, when the first card you put out is profitable, that's obviously a nice little ego boost. But I know, like I said, this is not gambling advice. Do not take what I'm saying and set it in stone and use it for your own financial choices. I'll never tell you what to do with your money. What you do with your money is completely up to you. If you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, that's fine too. But yeah, I'm going to keep putting these out. I had a lot of fun making the first one and recording this after the fact. So yeah, so we'll have a week off, and then, 2 weeks from now, probably the Thursday or Friday before Strickland versus Fluffy, we'll put out another, predictions and betting breakdown, and we'll keep busting these out, all right? So I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time for UFC Fight Night, Strickland versus Fluffy Hernandez. Goodbye.